Tyler Smith for 88.3 CJIQ. I'm here with Earl Smith, my grandfather on my father's side. Earl made it through the German bombings of Liverpool and the rest of Britain when he was just a boy. He went on to serve in the Royal Canadian Navy from 1955 to 1960. Earl then went on to work as a prison guard for the Ontario government from 1967 through to his retirement in 1993. He's one of the best storytellers I know, and here he is. Grandad, how are you today?
Fine, thank you.
We're also joined by my grandfather's dog, Mimi, Jack Russell. You might hear her a little bit. But the first question I was hoping to ask you was what it was like in Liverpool during the war.
From what I can remember, it was quite disturbing. I was scared. I got severely injured in one bombing run that the Germans or the Italians made. And I suffered facial injuries. And after I was healed, all my hair fell out, and it's a nervous condition called alopecia.
And how old were you when the bomb almost killed you?
4.
And you remember it?
I never for years, and then I did. I started to remember it.
After the war ended, later on, in better times when you were still in Liverpool, you met the Beatles, didn't you?
When I got out the Navy in 1960, I come back to Guelph for a short time, and then I went back to Liverpool. And once I was going downtown Liverpool, and my sister-in-law, who was a young teenager, asked me to get her a record called Sukiyaki by Kimo Sakamoto. So I went downtown and I went to a huge record store named Nem's. Went in and there was hundreds of kids in there, and the Beatles were there. And I was asked by, I think it was George Harrison, if I wanted anything, and I said, yeah, I want a record. And he sent the clerk over. I didn't know who they were.
If only you had known at the time, I guess, eh?
Well, I should have bought about 15 copies of Love Me Do and got them to sign them.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
a millionaire now.
This has been Tyler Smith with his granddad, Earl Smith. Okay, well, let's go back to your time in the Navy. What was that like?
It was the best 5 years of my life.
You were a cook, right?
I was a cook, except in action stations. I worked on a rocket magazine.
Yeah, so when people hear that you're a cook, they don't think it was that dangerous, but...
It was very dangerous. I was a couple of decks below water level, and once you were locked in the rocket magazine, you couldn't get out. You had to have somebody to let you out.
So during battle stations, it was one of the more dangerous things, actually.
It was.
And you spent lots of time on an aircraft carrier, correct?
I spent nearly 2 years, and I was on a frigate, which only had a crew of about 90 men, and it was on a destroyer. As a matter of fact, the destroyer I was on was a flagship of the Canadian Navy. Its name was the St. Laurent.
And not long after you were out of the Navy, you met my Nan, Irene.
I met your Nan while I was in the Navy.
Yeah.
In 1957. I went back to England. We teamed up again, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then you ended up coming back to Canada, to Guelph.
Yep.
And you ended up as a prison guard.
Yep.
And you spent your whole time as a prison guard at the OR in Guelph, right?
Yep. A short time I worked at the Guelph jail, but a very short time.
What's some kind of crazy story from your time as a prison guard?
Not much. It was pretty routine. But I seen a thing in a magazine about the place being haunted. But the 30 years I was there, I never seen no ghosts or heard of any.
Gonna ask you one last question. how did you actually meet Irene, my nan?
Well, they have places in England called pubs, meaning public house, and I was in a pub and there was a bunch of girls all sitting and drinking and talking and having fun, and that's how I met her.
And that was that, eh? All right, well, this has been Tyler Smith talking with his grandfather Earl Smith for 88.3 CJIQ.